My name is Jessica, 32 years old, and I never thought my own family would betray me like this. When I discovered they had used my credit cards to book a $30,000 vacation to Italy, without my knowledge, something inside me snapped. Years of being taken advantage of culminated in one decision that would change everything. I waited until they were mid-flight, then I canceled it all. If you are watching this story about financial betrayal, drop a comment sharing where you are from. Do not forget to like and subscribe if you want to hear more about how I handled this $30,000 lesson in boundaries. Working as a financial advisor at one of the top firms in Boston had taught me the value of every dollar. The irony was not lost on me that I spent my days helping others manage their wealth while my own family saw me as their personal ATM. My clients respected my expertise, but my family only saw dollar signs when they looked at me. I grew up watching my parents struggle with money. My father left when I was 12, and my mother, Monica, suddenly had to support 3 daughters on her own. I was the middle child, with Samantha being 4 years older and Amanda 4 years younger. Those early years were tough, filled with discount groceries, secondhand clothes, and the constant refrain of, "We cannot afford that," whenever we asked for anything. From an early age, I developed a strong sense of financial responsibility. By 16, I was working after school to help with bills. I saved every penny from my fast food job, determined to create a different future for myself. While Samantha rebelled and Amanda became the baby everyone protected, I became the reliable one, the responsible one. College was a struggle financially, but I earned scholarships and worked multiple jobs to graduate debt-free with my finance degree. Those years taught me discipline and reinforced my careful approach to money. I clipped coupons, tracked every expense in a detailed spreadsheet, and never indulged in the spring break trips my friends took. After graduation, I landed an entry-level position at the firm, where I still work today. I climbed the ladder through sheer determination, earning promotions, and building a client base that trusted my judgment. By 30, I had a healthy 6-figure income, a solid investment portfolio, and was on track to purchase my first home by the end of the year. Meanwhile, my family continued their pattern of financial instability. Monica bounced between jobs, never quite finding her footing. Samantha married young, divorced quickly, and frequently needed loans to cover her rent. Amanda pursued one passion project after another, never sticking with anything long enough to become financially independent. The pattern was always the same: a desperate call, a sob story about unexpected expenses, promises to pay me back as soon as things turn around. I had spreadsheets tracking thousands of dollars lent over the years, with only a fraction ever repaid. Each time I told myself this would be the last time, yet I always relented when they called again. "Jessica, I would not ask if it was not an emergency," my mother would say, her voice quivering just enough to trigger my guilt. "Remember how I worked 3 jobs when you were kids? I just need a little help until next month." Or Samantha would remind me of our childhood bond. "We are sisters, Jess. That is what family does. I would do the same for you." But she never had, and I suspected she never would. Amanda was the most transparent. "You make so much money now. You will not even miss $2,000, she would say, with a laugh, as if my hard work entitled her to the fruits of my labor. Despite these frustrations, I maintained boundaries in some ways. I never gave them access to my accounts. I changed the subject when they asked about my salary. I kept my financial details private, or so I thought. My apartment was my sanctuary, a place I had created through years of hard work. Nothing extravagant, but it was mine, with carefully chosen furniture and art that I had saved for. In my bedroom closet, I kept a small fireproof safe, where I stored important documents, some emergency cash, and credit cards I did not regularly use. Each member of my family had visited my apartment countless times. They knew the layout, had stayed over on numerous occasions, and I had foolishly shown Samantha where I kept the spare key in case of emergencies, hidden in a fake rock in my small garden. I never imagined they would use that knowledge against me. I maintained a strict routine of checking my accounts weekly. Every Sunday morning, I would sit with my coffee, review all transactions, update my budget, and plan for the week ahead. This discipline had served me well, keeping me on track toward my goals. That spring, I had been particularly busy at work helping clients navigate market volatility and tax season. The stress had been building, and I had started planning a modest weekend getaway to a bed and breakfast in Vermont. Nothing extravagant, just 2 nights away to decompress and reset. Little did I know that while I was meticulously saving for my modest retreat, my family was planning something far more lavish at my expense. It was a Tuesday morning when my routine was disrupted by an alert from my credit card company. Unusual activity detected flashed across my phone screen as I was rushing out the door for work. I almost dismissed it, thinking I would check later, but something made me pause and open the app right there in my hallway. What I saw made my stomach drop. My primary credit card, which typically carried a balance under $500 that I paid in full each month, now showed pending charges totaling over $15,000. My fingers trembled as I scrolled through the transactions: 3 round-trip business class tickets to Rome, $1,800 each. A luxury hotel reservation in Florence for 7 nights, at nearly $600 per night. Food tours, wine tastings, museum passes, and shopping excursions. There must be some mistake, I whispered to myself, sinking onto my couch. I immediately called the credit card company, prepared to report fraud. Miss Wright? These charges began appearing approximately 8 weeks ago, the representative explained after verifying my identity. There were several small test purchases, first at local stores, then the larger travel bookings began. Did you not receive the verification emails we sent? I checked my email, frantically searching for these notifications, but found nothing. With growing dread, I asked the representative to read me the email address these alerts had been sent to. It was mine, but with a slight variation, an extra period inserted where one did not belong. Someone had created a similar email address to intercept my notifications. Next, I checked my second credit card, the one I kept for emergencies, in my safe. That card showed another $15,000 in charges, more luxury hotels, restaurant reservations, spa treatments, and shopping sprees, all in various Italian cities. The world seemed to tilt as I realized what had happened. With shaking hands, I logged into the airline website using the confirmation numbers from the credit card statements. There, they were plain as day 3 business class tickets to Rome in the names of Monica Wright, Samantha Reed, and Amanda Wright, my mother and sisters. Departure date next Monday. I rushed to my bedroom and opened my safe. The emergency credit card was missing, though I was certain I had not used it in months. My spare key was still in the fake rock outside, but it looked slightly weathered, as if it had been recently used and returned. As I investigated further, I discovered forwarded confirmation emails for every booking. Someone had accessed my personal email and set up forwarding rules to redirect any travel-related emails to the fake account. The level of deception was staggering. I found hotel confirmations for the Grand Hotel Villa Cora in Florence, the St. Regis in Rome, and the Belmond Hotel Cipriani in Venice. 5-star accommodations with views, upgraded rooms, and all amenities included. They had booked private tours of the Vatican, exclusive after-hours access to galleries and tables at Michelin-starred restaurants. This was not just a vacation, it was the trip of a lifetime, planned with no expense spared because they were not the ones paying for it. The final piece of the puzzle came when I remembered the spare key to my apartment. I had shown Samantha where it was hidden about a year ago when I went on a business trip and asked her to water my plants. She must have taken it, made a copy, and returned it without my knowledge. I pictured them sneaking into my apartment when they knew I would be at work, carefully opening my safe, taking my credit card, and meticulously planning this elaborate trip. The thought of them in my private space, violating my trust so completely, made me physically ill. The most devastating part was realizing how long this had been in motion. The first small test purchases dated back 3 months. They had been planning this elaborate deception for a quarter of a year, all while looking me in the eye at family dinners, accepting my help with their bills, and pretending everything was normal. I called in sick to work, something I rarely did, and spent the day piecing together the full extent of their betrayal. They had not only stolen my credit cards and planned an extravagant vacation, but they had covered their tracks, meticulously intercepting notifications and confirmations, creating fake email accounts, and hiding evidence of their credit planning. As I scrolled through the itinerary they had created, I noticed they had even booked a rental car in my name, presumably using a copy of my driver license they had somehow obtained. The comprehensive nature of their deception was breathtaking. They had thought of everything except perhaps that I would discover their scheme before they departed. By the end of that day, I had compiled a complete picture of their planned 2-week Italian adventure, business class flights, luxury hotels, exclusive experiences, fine dining, and shopping, all on my dime. The total damage was just over $30,000, a sum that would significantly impact my financial goals and delay my home purchase by at least a year. I sat at my kitchen table that evening, surrounded by printouts of credit card statements and booking confirmations, trying to process the magnitude of this betrayal. These were not strangers who had stolen my identity. These were the people who were supposed to love me most in the world. With the evidence spread before me, I took a deep breath and called my mother. She answered on the third ring, her voice casual and light. "Jessica, what a nice surprise. I was just thinking about you." The normalcy in her tone made my blood boil. How could she sound so ordinary when she had been systematically deceiving me for months? "Mom, I need to talk to you about something important," I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. "I just discovered some unusual charges on my credit cards. About $30,000 worth of charges for a trip to Italy. For you, Samantha, and Amanda?" There was a long pause, then a soft sigh. "Oh, Jessica, we were going to tell you. We just thought it would be better to wait until after we got back." Her casual tone, as if she were discussing borrowing a sweater without permission rather than committing credit card fraud, left me speechless momentarily. "You were going to tell me, AFTR. You spent $30,000 of my money on a luxury vacation. Without my permission." Each question raised my voice another octave. "Honey, it is not like that. We were planning to pay you back. Eventually. You know, we have all been through so much lately. Your sister's divorce, my health scare last year, Amanda losing her apartment. We deserved something nice for once." I could not believe what I was hearing. Mom taking my credit cards without permission is theft. This is not about deserving a vacation. This is about stealing from me. "Do not be so dramatic, Jessica. We are family. It is just a loan. We were going to surprise you with some nice Italian gifts." I asked her to conference call my sisters so we could all discuss this together. Within minutes, all 4 of us were on the line. Samantha spoke first, her tone defensive. "Jessica, you always lecture us about money. You have plenty of it, and you never have to worry about bills like we do. For once, we wanted to experience something special." "Yeah," Amanda chimed in. "You are always taking those business trips to nice places. We never get to go anywhere, and we are going to pay you back. Eventually." The casual way she said eventually made my stomach turn. We all knew eventually would likely never come. "This is not about the money," I said, though of course it partially was. "This is about trust. You broke into my home, stole my credit cards, created fake email accounts to hide your tracks, and planned an elaborate deception. How could you possibly think this was okay?" "We did not break in," Samantha countered. "We used the key you showed me. And we were careful with your things. Nothing is damaged." "Except our relationship," I retorted. "I want you to cancel everything and return my cards immediately." We cannot do that, my mother said firmly. Everything is non-refundable at this point. We leave on Monday. Then I will cancel the cards myself and report them stolen, I threatened. This triggered an explosion of protests. You would not dare, Samantha shouted. You would ruin our vacation out of spite. It is not spite. It is my money that was taken without my permission. I work hard for every dollar I make. Oh, here we go, Amanda groaned. Saint Jessica, the only one who works hard. Some of us have not had the same opportunities you have had. What opportunities I put myself through college. I worked multiple jobs. I saved and sacrificed. Nothing was handed to me. My mother's voice turned cold. I sacrificed everything for you girls after your father left. I went hungry so you could eat. I wore the same clothes for years so you could have new ones for school. After all I have done for you, Jessica, you would deny me one nice trip. The manipulation was so transparent, yet it still struck at my heart. I had spent years in therapy unpacking the guilt my mother could trigger with just a few carefully chosen words. This is not about what you did or did not do as a mother, I said, fighting to stay calm. This is about respect and boundaries. You cannot take what is not yours, even if you feel entitled to it. We are not canceling anything, Samantha declared. The trip is happening. Deal with it. Please, Jess, Amanda, added her voice, softening to the wheedling tone she had perfected since childhood. Be cool about this. It is going to be amazing, and we will bring you back something really special. For 3 hours we went around in circles. They minimized their actions, justified their entitlement, and refused to acknowledge the fundamental violation of trust. They employed every emotional manipulation tactic in their arsenal: guilt, gaslighting, anger, and finally, when nothing else worked, pleading. At least let us have this trip, my mother finally said. We will figure out the money when we get back. I promise. Promises from my family had proven worthless over the years, but I was emotionally exhausted. I need to think about this, I said finally. There is nothing to think about, Samantha snapped. The trip is happening. Stop being so selfish. That was the breaking point. I am selfish for not wanting $30,000 stolen from me, for expecting basic respect from my family. You have always been the selfish one, Samantha continued, her voice venomous. Always keeping track of every dollar, never willing to share your success with your family. I have given you thousands over the years. Loans that were never repaid, bills I covered, emergencies I handled. How dare you call me selfish? The call devolved into shouting before my mother finally announced, We are done discussing this. The trip is happening. When we get back, we will discuss a repayment plan. Before I could respond, they hung up. When I tried calling back, I discovered they had all blocked my number. A text from Amanda arrived moments later. Stop being dramatic. We will talk when we get back from Italy. Ciao. That flippant ciao was the final straw. They had not only stolen from me and violated my trust, but they were treating it as a joke. They expected me to sit quietly while they enjoyed a luxury vacation at my expense with no genuine intention of making it right. I sat in my silent apartment surrounded by the evidence of their betrayal, and something hardened inside me. For years I had been the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who always cleaned up everyone else's messes. For once they would face the consequences of their actions. The days following that devastating phone call were a blur of anger, hurt, and disbelief. I moved through my work days on autopilot, smiling at clients while internally I was shattered. Each night I would come home and stare at the collection of evidence spread across my dining table, trying to understand how my own family could betray me so completely. This was far from the first time they had taken advantage of me, but it was by far the most egregious. I thought about the time Samantha borrowed $5,000 for a security deposit on her apartment after her divorce, promising to pay me back from her tax return. That money never materialized, and when I eventually asked about it, she acted offended that I would mention something so petty. There was the time Amanda needed $2,000 for a photography course that would finally be her career breakthrough. I paid the tuition only to watch her abandon photography 3 weeks later for an interest in organic soap making, for which she also requested funding. My mother had a pattern of mysterious car troubles that always seemed to cost just slightly more than she had in her account. Each time she would assure me it was the last time she would need help until the next automotive crisis emerged a few months later. But this was different. The scale, the deception, the coordination between them, and the utter lack of remorse, when confronted, all pointed to a disturbing truth. They saw me not as a person with feelings and boundaries, but as a resource to be exploited. I had always been careful with my finances, following a strict budget that would allow me to purchase my first home by the end of the year. The $30,000 they had spent would set that goal back significantly. It represented countless extra hours, worked opportunities for leisure, sacrificed and disciplined, saving all wiped away for their 2-week European adventure. On Thursday evening, I called my best friend Laura, the only person who truly understood the complicated dynamics of my family. When I told her what had happened, she was silent for several moments. "Jessica," she finally said, her voice deadly, serious, "that is identity theft. That is a felony. You need to call the police." "I cannot send my own mother and sisters to jail," I protested, though the thought had crossed my mind. "They stole $30,000 from you. They broke into your home. They created fake email accounts to hide their tracks. These are serious crimes, and the fact that they are family actually makes it worse, not better." I knew she was right, legally speaking. What they had done was criminal, but something held me back from taking that step. Perhaps it was years of conditioning to protect them, to be the responsible one who fixed problems rather than created them. "At the very least," Laura continued, "you need to cancel those cards immediately and report them stolen. Do not let them get away with this." As we talked, an idea began to form in my mind. What if I let them begin their trip? Let them feel the confidence of getting away with their scheme, and then pulled the rug out from under them when they were already abroad. Let them experience the consequences of their actions in a foreign country far from their comfort zone. "I know that." "Look," Laura said, noticing my expression change even through the video call. "What are you thinking?" I explained my emerging plan: wait until they were in flight, headed to Italy, and then cancel everything. The credit cards, the hotel reservations, the tour bookings, everything. "That is deliciously evil," Laura said with a small smile. "But are you sure? They will be stranded in a foreign country?" "They will not be stranded," I clarified. "They all have their own credit cards and some savings. They just choose to spend my money instead of their own. This way they will have to use their resources for once. What about when they come back? They will be furious. I am changing my locks tomorrow. And maybe this will finally make them understand that there are consequences for treating people this way, even family." We talked for hours, weighing the ethics and potential outcomes of my plan. Was I being too vindictive? Would this permanently damage our already strained relationship? Was that necessarily a bad thing, given how they had treated me? By the end of our conversation, my resolve had strengthened. This was not just about the money, though, that was significant. This was about finally standing up for myself, about refusing to be the family doormat any longer. This was about consequences. The next day, I went through their itinerary with meticulous attention to detail. Their flight departed Monday at 2:15 in the afternoon, arriving in Rome at 7:20 the following morning local time. They had a car service scheduled to take them to their first hotel in Rome, where they would spend 3 nights before moving on to Florence. I confirmed that all the major bookings were on my credit cards and made notes of cancellation policies. Most had strict no-refund policies at this point, which meant the money was likely lost regardless of what I did. This knowledge only strengthened my resolve. If the money was gone either way, at least I could ensure they did not enjoy the fruits of their theft. Sunday night, the evening before their departure, I received a text from Amanda with a selfie of the three of them surrounded by luggage champagne glasses in hand. Pre-vacation celebration. Thanks for the upgrade to business class. Sis, you are the best. We'll bring you back something fabulous from Italy. The audacity, the sheer entitlement of that message sealed their fate. They were actually celebrating their successful deception, toasting with champagne to the upcoming luxury vacation they had stolen from me. In that moment, any lingering doubts about my plan evaporated. I went to bed that night with a strange sense of calm. For once, I would not be the one cleaning up their mess. For once, they would face the consequences of their actions. For once, they would learn that I was not an endless resource to be exploited, but a person deserving of basic respect. Monday morning, I tracked their flight through the airline app. I watched as the status changed from on time to boarding to departed. Only when I confirmed they were in the air over the Atlantic, with no way to turn back, did I begin to execute my plan. Once the flight tracker confirmed they were over the Atlantic Ocean, I took a deep breath and began implementing my plan. There was no turning back now. First, I called my primary credit card company. The customer service representative, Kevin, answered with the usual cheerful greeting. "Thank you for calling Capital Bank Card Services. This is Kevin. How may I assist you today?" "Hello, Kevin. I need to report 2 of my credit cards stolen and request immediate cancellation and replacement." "I am sorry to hear that, Miss Wright. Can you verify your identity for me?" I provided the necessary information, then explained the situation in careful terms. I discovered unauthorized charges on my accounts. Someone took my cards from my home without permission and made several large purchases. "Do you know who might have taken the cards, Miss Wright?" Kevin asked, his tone shifting to concerned. I hesitated only briefly. "Yes, I do. It was family members who had access to my home. They took the cards without my knowledge or consent." Kevin's typing paused. "I see. And you want to report this as fraud?" "Yes. The charges were made without my authorization. I want the cards canceled immediately and replacements issued." Kevin guided me through the fraud reporting process, asking detailed questions about which charges were unauthorized. I confirmed that all the travel-related expenses were fraudulent. "We will cancel both cards immediately," Kevin assured me. "The new cards should arrive within 3 to 5 business days. In the meantime, we will investigate these charges. Since you know who made the unauthorized purchases, you may want to consider filing a police report that can help with the investigation." I will consider that. I said, though I had no immediate plans to involve the police. This was about consequences, not criminal charges. "Is there anything else I can help you with today?" Kevin asked. "No, that is all. Thank you for your assistance." With the credit cards canceled, I moved on to phase 2 of my plan. I logged into the website for the St. Regis Rome, their first hotel destination. Finding the customer service number, I dialed and was connected to a heavily accented but professional voice. "Buongiorno, St. Regis Rome. How may I assist you?" "Hello, I need to cancel a reservation for 3 people arriving tomorrow morning. The reservation is under Monica Wright." After verifying the booking details, the hotel representative informed me of their cancellation policy. "Signora, I must inform you that canceling at this time will still result in a charge for the full stay. Our policy requires cancellation at least 7 days in advance." "I understand," I replied. "The credit card associated with this booking has been reported stolen. You will not be able to process any charges on it. I am calling as a courtesy to let you know the guests will not be arriving." There was a pause, followed by a more serious tone. "I understand, Signora. I will make note of this in our system. Thank you for informing us." I repeated this process for each hotel on their itinerary, the Villa Cora in Florence and the Belmont Cipriani in Venice. Each conversation followed a similar pattern, though the Cipriani representative seemed particularly disappointed to lose such a valuable booking. Next came the tour companies. I methodically worked through their itinerary, canceling private Vatican tours, wine tasting excursions, cooking classes, and museum visits. Some companies were understanding, others less so, but all ultimately accepted the cancellations, especially after I explained the credit card situation. The rental car company required additional verification, but eventually processed the cancellation after I provided details from the confirmation email that had been forwarded to the fake account my family had created. The final and most challenging call was to the airline regarding their return flight. While I could not cancel their outbound journey already in progress, I could ensure they would need to make new arrangements to come home. "I understand you want to cancel only the return portion of these tickets," the airline representative said, sounding confused. "May I ask why?" "The credit card used to purchase these tickets was used without authorization," I explained. "The passengers are currently on the outbound flight, but I need to cancel the return portion." "I see. This is an unusual situation. Let me check what options we have." After several minutes on hold, she returned. "I can cancel the return portion, but there will be no refund issued for the partial cancellation." "That is fine. I just need the return flights canceled." With that final call complete, I had systematically dismantled every aspect of their luxury vacation. The hotels would not honor their reservations. The tours would not admit them. The rental car would not be available, and they would need to purchase new tickets to return home. As I completed each call, I felt a complex mix of emotions. There was satisfaction in finally standing up for myself, in refusing to be a victim of their manipulation and theft. But there was also sadness that our relationship had deteriorated to this point, that they had forced me to take such drastic action. The last step in my plan was to protect myself from their inevitable fury. I called a locksmith who arrived that afternoon to change all the locks on my apartment. I provided new keys to the building manager and kept the only other copy for myself. No more hidden spare keys, no more trusting people who had proven themselves untrustworthy. I spent the evening changing all my passwords, email banking, social media, everything. I set up additional security measures, including two-factor authentication on all important accounts. I froze my credit with all 3 major bureaus to prevent any new accounts from being opened in my name. As night fell, I knew they would be landing in Rome soon. I imagined their initial excitement as they stepped off the plane, collected their luggage, and headed to what they thought would be a luxury hotel. I pictured the moment of realization when their credit cards were declined, when they learned their reservations had been canceled, when they understood that their actions had consequences. Part of me felt guilty for potentially putting them in a difficult situation in a foreign country. But another part, the part that had been taken advantage of for years, reminded me that they had created this situation themselves. They had their own credit cards, they had their own money. They had simply chosen to spend mine instead. That night, I slept better than I had in days. For once, I was not solving everyone else's problems. For once, I was prioritizing myself, my boundaries, and my financial security. For once, I was allowing natural consequences to unfold without rushing in to fix everything. Tomorrow would bring the fallout, the angry calls, the accusations. But tonight I rested in the knowledge that I had finally stood up for myself. The call came at 3:30 in the morning, jolting me from sleep. Despite expecting it, my heart raced as I saw my mother's name on the screen. I took a deep breath and answered, "Jessica, something terrible has happened." My mother's voice was shrill with panic. "The hotel says they have no reservation for us, and our cards are being declined everywhere." I remained silent, letting her continue. "We have been standing in the lobby for an hour. They will not give us rooms. They keep saying something about the original credit card being reported stolen. Did someone steal your credit card information?" The audacity of her question made me almost laugh. No, Mom. No one stole my credit card information. Someone stole my actual credit cards. From my home, using a key they were not supposed to have. That someone was you, Samantha and Amanda. There was a moment of stunned silence before she exploded. You did this on purpose. You canceled everything. How could you do this to us? We are in a foreign country. How could you steal $30,000 from me? I countered, my voice steady. How could you break into my home, take my credit cards, and book a luxury vacation without my permission? We were going to pay you back, she shouted, the same empty promise I had heard countless times. With what money, Mom? The same money you were going to use to pay back the last 5 loans, or the 5 before that. If you had that kind of money, you would have booked this trip yourselves. In the background, I could hear Samantha demanding the phone. There was a shuffling sound, and then my sister's voice, cold with fury. You vindictive bitch! I cannot believe you would do this to your own family. We are stranded in Rome in the middle of the night. You have your own credit cards, I pointed out. You have your own money. Use it for once. Our cards are maxed out. You know that. And there it was, the truth finally spoken aloud. They had taken my cards because they had already mismanaged their own finances to the point where they could not fund their desired lifestyle. That sounds like a personal problem, Samantha. Perhaps instead of a luxury vacation you cannot afford, you should have focused on paying down your debt. We will never forgive you for this, she hissed. Never. And I will never forgive you for stealing from me, breaking into my home, and violating my trust. So I guess we are even. Amanda grabbed the phone next, her voice tearful in contrast to Samantha's rage. Jess, please. We are really stuck here. We cannot afford another hotel, especially not in this area. Please undo whatever you did. I cannot undo it, Amanda. The cards have been reported stolen, which they were. New ones have been issued. The hotels and tours have all been notified of the fraud. It is done. What are we supposed to do? She wailed. You are adults. Figure it out. Find a cheaper hotel. Contact the American embassy if you need to. Use your own resources for once instead of mine. The phone went back to my mother, who had shifted from anger to manipulation, her voice now trembling with rehearsed vulnerability. Jessica, after everything I have done for you, all the sacrifices I made as a single mother, this is how you repay me. By abandoning us in a foreign country. You abandoned our relationship the moment you decided to steal from me, I replied, unmoved by the performance I had seen countless times. Actions have consequences, Mom. For once, you are facing yours. The call continued for nearly an hour, cycling through anger, pleading threats, and guilt trips. Samantha threatened to sue me for stranding them. Amanda cried about how I had ruined everything. My mother vacillated between rage and martyrdom, a well-practiced routine designed to make me fold. But something had changed in me. The guilt trips that had worked so effectively in the past now rang hollow. The manipulation tactics were so transparent that I could almost predict their next moves. Years of therapy had finally paid off, allowing me to see these dynamics clearly and refuse to participate. I have to go, I said finally. I have work in the morning. People who commit credit card fraud against family members do not get to demand help from their victims. You all made adult choices. Now deal with the adult consequences. I hung up, blocked their numbers, and tried to go back to sleep, though adrenaline kept me awake until dawn. Throughout the next day, they attempted to contact me through every possible channel. They called my office, forcing me to inform my assistant not to put through their calls. They messaged my friends on social media, creating such dramatic stories of abandonment that Laura called me concerned. They are laying it on thick, she told me. According to the message Samantha sent me, you abandoned them penniless and homelesses in Rome, and they might have to sleep on the streets. They all have credit cards, I replied wearily. They might be near their limits, but they have them, and they all have at least some savings. They are just used to spending my money instead of their own. Through mutual acquaintances, I learned they had managed to book a modest hotel far from the city center, sharing a single room to save money. They had been forced to cancel most of their planned activities and were scrambling to find a way home as their return flights had also been canceled. For the next week, I maintained my distance, focusing on work and beginning the process of disputing the fraudulent charges with my credit card companies. The fraud department seemed skeptical at first when I explained the perpetrators were family members, but the documentation I had gathered, including their text messages, essentially admitting to taking the cards, strengthened my case. 10 days after they had departed, I received an email from my mother. The tone had shifted from entitlement and anger to a grudging acknowledgement of wrongdoing. "We should not have taken your cards without asking," she wrote, though she still could not bring herself to use the word stealing. "But what you did was cruel. We had to spend our savings on basic accommodations and new flights home. Samantha had to borrow money from her ex-husband, which was humiliating. Amanda had a panic attack from the stress. I hope you are satisfied with what you have done to your family." Even in her quasi-apology, she was still attempting to shift blame to cast me as the villain in a story where they were the clear wrongdoers. I did not respond. They returned 2 weeks after their departure, subdued and resentful. Through Laura, who ran into Amanda at the grocery store, I learned they had managed a fraction of their planned activities, staying in budget accommodations and eating at inexpensive restaurants. It was still a trip to Italy, just not the luxury experience they had planned at my expense. Samantha left a voicemail on my work phone, her voice tight, with contained fury. "We are back. No thanks to you. I hope you know this is not over. You will regret treating family this way." Amanda's approach was different, sending a text that read, "I know what we did was wrong, but did you have to be so mean about it? We could have worked something out. Now everything is ruined." Still refusing to take full responsibility, still expecting me to solve their problems, still not understanding the magnitude of their betrayal. My mother sent a letter to my office, knowing I had blocked her number. In flowery language, she detailed all she had sacrificed for me growing up, how she had given me life, and how a good daughter would forgive a mother's mistakes. There was no acknowledgement of the premeditated nature of their actions, the violation of my home, or the significant financial impact. I filed the letter away without responding. For the first time in my adult life, I was not rushing to smooth things over to be the peacemaker to fix what they had broken. For once, I was allowing the natural consequences of their actions to unfold without intervention. It was both terrifying and liberating. The guilt I had expected to overwhelm me remained manageable, a dull ache rather than the crushing weight I had feared. In its place was something new, self-respect, boundaries, and the quiet knowledge that I had finally stood up for myself. 6 months passed before I saw any member of my family face to face again. During that time, I focused on rebuilding my financial security and emotional well-being. The credit card companies eventually ruled in my favor on most of the charges, though I still lost about $8,000 in non-refundable fees and deposits. I began seeing my therapist weekly, instead of monthly, working through the complex emotions surrounding the incident. There was grief for the family relationship I had thought we had, anger at their betrayal, guilt for my retaliatory actions, and uncertainty about how to move forward. "What you did was not vindictive," my therapist assured me during one particularly difficult session. "It was allowing natural consequences to occur. They made choices, and those choices had outcomes. You simply refused to shield them from those outcomes, as you have done their entire lives." This reframing helped me process my lingering guilt. I had not caused their discomfort in Italy, their own actions had. I had simply refused to be victimized and then expected to rescue them from the situation they created. Laura and my other close friends provided unwavering support, validating my feelings and encouraging me to maintain the boundaries I had established. When moments of doubt crept in, when I wondered if I had been too harsh, they reminded me of the systematic way my family had violated my trust. They did not impulsively borrow a credit card for an emergency. Laura pointed out over coffee one Saturday. They planned this for months. They created fake email accounts. They entered your home without permission. They violated your personal safe. This was premeditated and calculated. 3 months after their return, I received a formal letter from Samantha threatening legal action for abandonment in a foreign country and emotional distress. I forwarded it to a lawyer friend who confirmed it had no legal merit and sent Samantha a cease and desist letter warning that any countersuit for the credit card fraud would be far more damaging to her. Amanda was the first to reach out in a meaningful way. 5 months after the incident, she sent an email that seemed genuinely remorseful. "I have been doing a lot of thinking," she wrote. "What we did was wrong, full stop. No excuses. We violated your trust in the worst way, and I am truly sorry. I do not expect forgiveness, but I wanted you to know that I understand now why you reacted the way you did. I would have done the same." She explained that she had started therapy herself and was working through patterns of entitlement and financial irresponsibility. She had taken a steady job as an administrative assistant and was creating a budget for the first time in her life. "I would like to pay you back my share of what we took," she continued. "It will take time, but I am committed to making this right. No expectations attached." Her sincerity seemed genuine, and after careful consideration, I agreed to meet her at a neutral location, a coffee shop downtown. Our reunion was awkward but productive. She brought a check for $500, the first of what she promised would be monthly payments until her share was repaid. "I do not expect us to be close again right away," she said, stirring her coffee nervously. "Maybe ever. But I want you to know I am serious about making amends." Samantha remained hostile, sending occasional angry texts that I largely ignored. She had been the architect of the scheme, according to Amanda, and remained convinced that I had overreacted to what she still characterized as borrowing. My mother took a middle path, neither fully acknowledging the wrong nor maintaining Samantha's level of hostility. She sent cards on my birthday and holidays with carefully worded notes that danced around the central issue. "Families have disagreements, but love remains. Hope we can put the past behind us." Never a clear apology, never a real acknowledgement of the harm done. 6 months to the day after discovering the fraud, I invited my mother to meet me for lunch. She accepted immediately, clearly hoping for a reconciliation on her terms. We met at a restaurant equidistant between our homes' neutral territory. She arrived wearing a new dress. I suspected she could not afford her hair freshly colored, playing the role of the put-together mother despite her chronic financial instability. "Jessica," she said warmly, moving to embrace me. I accepted the hug but remained stiff, not yet ready for the physical affection that had so often been used to paper over serious issues. Once seated, she launched into casual conversation, asking about my work, commenting on the weather as if the massive betrayal had never occurred. I let her continue for a few minutes before gently steering the conversation to the reason for our meeting. "Mom, we need to talk about what happened," I said firmly. "Really talk about it. Not gloss over it or pretend it did not happen." Her smile faltered. "Honey, it was a misunderstanding. We should put it behind us." "It was not a misunderstanding. It was a deliberate act of theft. You broke into my home, took my credit cards, and spent $30,000 without my permission. That is not something we can just put behind us without addressing it." She sighed, her expression shifting to the martyred look I knew so well. "I made mistakes raising you girls alone. I know that. But everything I did for you. Is it so wrong that I wanted one nice trip after all these years of struggle?" "The wrong part was stealing from me to get it," I replied steadily. "If you had asked, we might have been able to plan a trip together. A reasonable trip that I gifted to you, not a luxury vacation you stole from me." For the first time, I saw a flicker of genuine remorse cross her face. I did not think of it as stealing. You have always been so generous, I thought. I thought you would understand once we explained. That is the problem, Mom. You did not see taking something that belonged to me without permission as stealing. You did not see violating my home as wrong. You saw me as a resource to be used, not a person to be respected. Tears filled her eyes, whether from genuine remorse or tactical emotion, I could not be sure. I never meant to hurt you, Jessica. None of us did. Intent does not erase impact, I said, a phrase I had learned in therapy. Whether you meant to hurt me or not, you did. Deeply. We talked for 2 hours, covering ground we had never fully explored before. The pattern of financial exploitation that had characterized our relationship for years. The way my success had been seen not as something to celebrate, but something to benefit from. The fundamental lack of respect that had culminated in the credit card theft. By the end of our lunch, we had reached a fragile understanding. Not forgiveness, not yet, but a path forward with clear boundaries. She acknowledged finally that what they had done was wrong. Not a misunderstanding, not a borrowing, but a violation of trust. I want a relationship with you, I told her, as we prepared to leave, but it has to be a healthy one. That means respecting my boundaries, financial and otherwise. It means no more loans that we both know will never be repaid. It means treating me as an adult, with my own life, not a safety net for poor decisions. She nodded, looking older and more vulnerable than I had allowed myself to see before. I will try. I cannot promise I will get it right away, but I will try. We parted with another hug, this one more genuine than the first. As I watched her walk to her car, I felt a complex mix of emotions, sadness for what our relationship could have been, cautious, hope for what it might become, and pride in myself for finally establishing the boundaries I should have set years ago. In the years since discovering the theft, I have rebuilt my financial cushion, though my home purchase was delayed. Amanda continues to make monthly payments, small but consistent. Samantha remains distant, though her hostility has cooled to mere coolness. My mother and I speak weekly. Our relationship changed, but slowly healing under new terms. The most significant change has been within myself. I no longer feel responsible for solving everyone else's problems. I no longer mistake enabling for helping. I no longer confuse self-sacrifice with love. I have learned that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is to let them face the consequences of their choices. That healthy relationships require mutual respect, not just shared DNA. That love without boundaries is not really love at all, but codependence. Most importantly, I have learned that I deserve the same care and respect that I have always given others, that my needs matter, that my boundaries are valid, that saying no does not make me selfish or cold but human. If you have ever found yourself constantly giving to people who only take no, that you are not alone. Setting boundaries is not cruel, it is necessary. Requiring respect is not selfish, it is healthy. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and others is to stop enabling harmful patterns, even when it is difficult, even when it hurts. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with loved ones? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life lessons about family boundaries and self-respect. Remember, family should lift you up, not drain you dry. Thank you for listening to my story, and I wish you strength on your own journey toward healthy relationships.